Well, hi, and welcome back again to another, excuse me, Facebook Live. And today we're going to be talking about saved audiences. So this is very much for people who are not yet ready to create their custom audiences. So generally for people who are just starting out with Facebook ads and Facebook targeting, generally the saved audiences or interest-based audiences is where you start from. So I'm just going to go to my slides one moment. And hopefully that gets us to our slides. Okay, so yes, talking about saved audiences. So I really want to just run through with you what is a saved audience, when do I use saved audiences, and how to set them up. And there's a few little extra tricks to actually help you improve your targeting with saved audiences. So fundamentally, what is a saved audience? Well, it's an audience that we're just using generally demographic and interest-based targeting. Now, if you do Facebook posts, then you'll have no doubt done a boosted post, and then you'll have selected maybe a bit of demographic data and some basic interest data. So what you can do is, if you go via the Ads Manager, you can actually put this same data into a saved audience. And it means by putting it in a saved audience, you can then go back to it and use that same audience again and again and access it very quickly. This is great when you're doing a lot of ongoing posts and you want to also create different saved audiences to test against one another. But there's another part to the saved audiences, which is, for me, is actually the interesting part of it, and that's using inclusion and exclusion audiences on top of that. So I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do that in just a moment. So in terms of when I should use my saved audiences, well, as I said, predominantly when you actually don't have a custom audience available. So if you're relatively new to Facebook ads, or you don't have a big presence or following, or you don't have a big customer base yet, you won't necessarily be able to access the custom audiences or create custom audiences, which is where you need more pixel data. Now, custom audiences is where you want to get to, but in order to start there, you often have to start with saved audiences. Another area where you probably use a saved audience is where you're doing some very early testing and you're happy just to go to a broader audience to start with, to get a sense of engagement, do some simple message testing. And I said the third area is where you're doing regular posts and you want to be able to literally just hit the boost post, select one of your pre-saved audiences and get those moving as quickly as possible. Okay, so the interesting point here, what I want to run through with you is the saved audiences, and specifically using inclusion and exclusion audiences. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to my actual Ads Manager. Here we are. Okay, so as usual, if you're in Facebook, you can click to your Ads Manager down this route and then go to Manage Ads. When you go to your Manage Ads, you can then click and actually go to your audiences. Okay, so here's my audiences for my online guitar business. As I've said before, you end up building up a bank of audiences, some of them using pixel data from the website, some using a customer list, but also some purely sort of saved audiences. So let's have a look at one of these things. So if we want to create a saved audience, we start by obviously just clicking here and going to the saved audience. Now, what I wanted to do is to run through a simple scenario. So with my online guitar business, say I was introducing a new course or new product, which was really aimed at people who are really into blues guitar playing. And I wanted to really try and create a nicely tight and narrow audience for that. Well, I mean, obviously I can put a name in here, whatever I like. But as I say, we're not using a custom audience here. So now I target people in the United States predominantly. And obviously see that gives you 240 million people. So let's start to narrow things down. Now here's the normal demographic side of things. So I know my target audience is a little bit older, and I'll put them in the 40 to 65 plus. I know they're 90% male, so I'm going to put that in there. So let's see. Currently, we've got 46 million people targeted. Okay, so now what I might start to do is I'll put in electric guitar as an interest there. Now we're down to 3.8 million people. Now, often what I've seen people do is actually then go and add more types of demographics straight into this same box here. Whereas actually what we want to do is start with this broad category and then slowly narrow it down. So what I'd do, I'd leave just a single item in there, but fairly broad based, but then start to narrow it down. So I first might narrow it down by going, I want people who are interested in Joe Bonamassa. So that seems to be, you know, really honing in on the sort of the blues rock type of person. But the interesting thing is here is the fact of when you put an audience here and then one in here, these people must not only like electric guitar, but also Joe Bonamassa. And that's the most important bit. It's must also. So let me just go back one step there. If I just put electric guitar in, I've got 3.8 million people, right? If I was to add Joe Bonamassa into here, we've gone from 3.8 million to 4.4 million. So actually, we've actually expanded our audience because it could be anybody who's interested in electric guitar or Joe Bonamassa. However, when we take it down and we go into the narrow your audience and we put in Joe Bonamassa here, we go from that 4.4 million down to 460,000. So we've really then started to hone in on our sort of audience, and we can go a step further. You know, if I just wanted to check people are really into the blues, I could also then put Eric Clapton. And now we've gone down from 460 to 130,000. So this is actually now, by building and layering up this audience, we've narrowed in more and more. So we've got people who are interested in electric guitar and Joe Bonamassa and Eric Clapton. So as you see, we've really tried to sort of hone in on it. And this is where you can have a lot of fun just messing around, but building it. The important thing is to not load too many different things into that first level of targeting. And then what you can do, you can actually turn your saved audience into actually a relatively targeted audience. So that's something for you to go away and have a play with. As I say, using that exclusion and inclusion audiences can really turn a saved audience, which can be sort of relatively woolly and untargeted, into something that actually is far more targeted and far more centered around your ideal customer. Okay, so That's all for today's session. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get more of this types of training and tips and strategies on Facebook advertising, then there should be a link somewhere on the post where you can connect with me on Messenger, and then I can send information to you. Or alternatively, you can always just go visit my website at jonathanhowkins.com, and where there's plenty of other free resources. Okay, many thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you again in another video really soon. Bye for now.